TinyBuild have built up a memorable franchise with the Hello Neighbor series. The original Hello Neighbor game created a large fan base through all of its early iterations involving solving puzzles and completing objectives with a middle-aged man chasing after you the entire time. Since the first Hello Neighbor, we've had a prequel, hide and seek, a multiplayer game, Secret Neighbor, and a construction game, Hello Engineer. The games have kept people's attention with multiple updates, Easter eggs, and mysteries riddled around that are tied to the ambiguous story. The story has grown large enough to have books and now an animated series. Hello Guest, another game within the series, was deemed a spin-off but evolved into what is now known as Hello Neighbor 2. Hello Neighbor 2 is a first-person stealth horror thriller game, and your goal is to figure out what is going down at the neighbor's house. You play as a journalist named Quentin, who seems to be very determined to find out what is really happening at Mr. Peterson's house. Kids have recently gone missing, and Quentin wants to get to the bottom of it. Quentin finds out his suspicions about Mr. Peterson were correct after he catches Mr. Peterson in the act of capturing a kid. Taking a picture for proof only proved reckless since Mr. Peterson noticed and started to break Quentin's car window. Quentin drives off and escapes but crashes in a nearby barn. Now he is determined to stop the wicked neighbor and save the kidnapped child. Gameplay involves you going into buildings and figuring out what to do while there is an authoritative figure in the building with you that will chase you on sight. When they catch you, you get kicked out, and any items you gained while you were sneaking around get put back where you found them. A lot of the things you are doing are very puzzle-oriented, like maybe you would take a piece of wood off a wall and find a block with a number on it, walk into the next room and find a safe that can only be opened with a number code, see that there are different colored flags above the safe, then realize the block you found matches one of those colors. A lot of the fun of these games is figuring out all of the inventive ways you can complete puzzles like this while also hiding and not getting caught to not have to start over and lose progress. Unfortunately, Hello Neighbor 2's gameplay is a lot more straightforward and seems to focus on a more linear path when it comes to actually completing tasks. In past games, there could be multiple ways to finish a level, or if you were really good at platforming, then maybe if you timed your jumps correctly, you could bypass an entire puzzle or get the item you needed without causing an alarm. There's only ever one solution to get what you need throughout this game, and a lot of the things you need are only accessible if you have another item to open something up to gain access to it. Hello Neighbor 2 seems to be a lot more open world. You can run around the neighborhood, and instead of only being able in the house like the first game or being level-based like hide and seek, you can freely explore the neighborhood. Free roaming the world of Hello Neighbor, a series with rich lore and such expressive art design, would be a blast, but it is not the case. There is nothing to interact with in the world at all except the different buildings you need to go to complete the game. Because of the more distinct narrow way you'd progress in the game is split up into multiple buildings instead of just one house or area. The levels are then reduced to only having to collect a small amount of the same object by solving different puzzles before you participate in a dream sequence and you have to go to another building. There is an actual inventory system now, unlike past games, which is useful. You have a bag that you can take out that has all the items that you pick up along the way, and like mentioned before, if you get caught, then the items that you carry are gone, except for a few items. There are items you collect for puzzles that get put back where you found them, but then you have tools like a shovel or a crowbar that stays with you, which is a nice streamlined addition that relieves some stress of not having to backtrack so much to retrieve those items. A little icon of the tool will pop up when you hover over an area that needs it, which is also a nice addition. The items in this game are pretty boring though, and some only ever have 2 or 3 uses. Past Hello Neighbor games have a lot more items in general, as well as them being more inventive and ambiguous. I feel like that was part of the fun of the games though, trying to figure out what to do with what item and how to pull it off successfully. The sense of self-fulfillment and reward doesn't hit as hard in the sequel. There's also less you can do in the game as well. In past games you can throw objects, but if you hold down the button, you can throw the object even further. That ability isn't present in the game. Also, throwing things at the chasers doesn't seem to hurt them or slow them down at all like in the past games either. The game is more or less bigger and has a lot of potential, but it's as if your freedom has been completely stripped away. The game also launched alongside a couple DLC levels and a DLC tool, so that seems very off-putting. The game's ending is anything but desired as well, especially with how the story plays out. My understanding is that the game is going to be updated, and that will add more game to it, so the entire situation is pretty weird. With how the game started off as Late Night Shift, then changed to Hello Neighbor 2, then to Hello Guest, and then back to Hello Neighbor 2, it just seems so haphazard, especially this is like the big sequel instead of a prequel or a spin-off. The Hello Neighbor games always had a charming appeal with their misspelled words, cartoony world, and characters that only ever grunt and make noises. The vibe of the game definitely gives off a goofy feeling, so with the first game, glitches and bugs definitely seem like a part of the allure, but now the saturation of glitches and bugs on release of these games can be sort of exhausting. The game isn't long at all, 8 to 10 hours, especially with the straightforwardness the game provides, but with the use of glitches, it's possible to finish the game in under 2 minutes. This game is riddled with bugs. There were times that the pursuers would get stuck on doors or anything and I could just run around and complete the section of the game without any sense of agency at all. I made it to the end of the game right before the final cutscene, and the game closed out and I never got the trophy for finishing the game. I went back into the game to finish it, but there was no continue option. For some reason, the game figured I finished the game and reset my progress, so I had to go through the entire game again to get the trophy for beating the game. All of the jankiness from the past games are present, and they are more annoying than ever. The music is surprisingly really good. The music that plays while you are walking around the sandbox area in particular I found riveting by Hello Neighbor standards. Sound design is pretty straightforward, but it is usually good with all the Hello Neighbor games. The pitter-patter of footsteps and the clicks and clacks of pushing buttons all feel textured in this animated world, and it all blends together incredibly. Hello Neighbor 2 is a great example of taking one step forward but 2 steps back. Progression in the Hello Neighbor franchise almost seems arbitrary. Shorter levels are fine and feel more puzzle-like than guessing like in the last games, but ultimately it makes everything go by quickly, and the risk-reward system gets messed up with almost no consequence for failing and not big enough of a reward for succeeding. We have this big open world with nothing to do in it. With how rich the lore is with the books and secrets in past games, it's weird that there really is no world or Easter eggs or anything. While the music and sound design are serviceable and fans of Hello Neighbor may get something out of what little Hello Neighbor 2 squeezes out to deliver, the bugs, storytelling, and mechanics overall unfortunately feel uninspired and disappointing. I give Hello Neighbor 2 a 4 out of 10.